Welcome to another episode of the Bhandwagon Podcast, and today's episode is in a new environment as well. It's to accommodate our legendary guest. Today I'm joined by a sports journalist, not just any sports journalist, but an award-winning sports journalist. One of the leading lights, especially from the South Asian community, who's absolutely smashing it in the sports field. Without further ado, welcome to Aaron Paul.
How's it going?
How's it going, bro?
Mate, just happy to be here.
Yeah,
in the second city.
Normally, I used to kind of, I normally shake hands and stuff, but this table's too big and there's too many wires and stuff around it. Yeah, I'll give you that one. There we go.
Nice.
Thanks. How are you to start off with?
I'm good. Yeah, rejuvenated, refreshed. It's been a really busy start to the season.
You were just telling me before we came on here, like you love going to Dubai all the time. Is that true?
Not all the time. That's my holiday destination choice, and I get a lot of pelters for it. But look, if you want to go to Figueroa, if you want to go to wherever you go, flipping Antalya, if you want to go to Spain, Portugal, all I know is come October, November, when it's snowing outside, I'll go to 30.
It's not just the snow. It's like when you get the 4 seasons in one day.
Can't be dealing with that.
I get the stress of that, man. And then the kids start getting ill, and then they take it into the schools, you come back, and you're suffering. I don't think you get better until about April.
Nah.
You just go through the whole of winter just ill.
Yeah.
Cold.
Yeah.
And you're just looking at everyone's Insta going, I wish I was there. And so I'm looking at your Insta going, I wish I could be there.
Did you feel like that?
I'll be honest. On Instagram is just full of everyone's just best life, yeah. But I saw one picture of yours and I thought, this geezer's living his best life.
Go on.
You're in the pool, it was at night or something, you had one cocktail in your hand. And I think in the picture, like, your foot was just like halfway on this kind of infinity pool or something right at the top. And it was just Dubai in the background. I thought, something, he's living the dream.
Yeah, that was probably me at some point. I can't remember. I hold a record at a hotel in Dubai for the amount of mojitos drank in, like, their unlimited period.
So I got the cocktail right then, innit?
Yeah, 100%. It's always mojito. But there's a hotel, Sofitel JBR, they have, thanks for the cross promotion. If you want to upgrade my room next time, I'll take that. They have this sort of like package where it's like all you can drink for like 40 quid. And
per day?
Per day.
Yeah, well, that makes it sound...
I mean, consider it's £20 a drink. Yeah. You're like, look, nice, we'll get.
Yeah.
And so, like, I thought, I'd be a citizen of the world and I'd just change things up. Rather than drinking the standard Jamie and lemonade, I'll try something else. And I've got sort of, like, quite a taste for mojitos. So I drank 17 in 3 hours.
I don't know whether to shake your hand or give you a hug.
The problem with that is, your tongue goes a bit numb because of the lime and the sugar reaction. Barcelona. I didn't have it this time. I didn't do it this time. But, yeah.
But, when you're balancing out your spare time, your breaks, because you're technically living a sports life though as well, because you're following a sports season, and you look at that gap that you have is probably only a month or two between the end of one season in football. And then I'm guessing you must be covering... Do you cover any of the friendlies or when they're going abroad or anything
I do the tennis. So I'm at Wimbledon, and then as soon as... around Wimbledon, you're starting to build up for friendlies. You're looking at pre-seasons. And look, I cover 72 teams in the EFL. Obviously, I look after the Premier League. I do European football for BBC London. I do all sorts of bits and pieces. But my bread and butter is looking after the EFL for 5 Live for ITV. You're covering 72 teams. That's a lot of information you need to process. So my time is spent reading, learning, listening to pods, looking at what's going on across the country, various clubs. And it's a big old job. But you are bang on when you say the summer absolutely flies. And that's why the international breaks are such a godsend in terms of having the October international break, having the November, and then November to March is a massive gap. It's a long old 4 or 5 months. And we are out and about in the cold, and it's cold. Let me tell you that. But once you get to March, you're like, get a bit of Jan, and you're like, right, I can have a bit of a break, and yeah, you really appreciate it.
Do you get annoyed then when... I've never thought about it until about now, actually, about... talking about football, especially Rodri's comments of what he said that they're playing too much football, and as an athlete they're at risk. But if you look at the infrastructure around football, there's risk there as well. And do you feel like that's not getting enough attention? Because I'm just listening to you now and I'm like going, I know what you were saying before, where you were trying to book in your break or your holiday, your time, and if you don't, it's just constant burnout. Do you think the infrastructure around it needs a little bit of a timeout as well?
Potentially, I won't ever complain. I'm very blessed. I could be out there pencil pushing or doing a job that I hate, but I'm very, very blessed to be able to go out and talk about football and to write about football and read football and watch football. It's a joy. For players, yeah. I mean, I actually think Rodri's got a bit of a point. It's not his fault that the FIFA international calendar is built as it is. It's the pencil pushers and the people who don't run 90 minutes or 100 minutes who are making these decisions, ridiculous decisions, to play tournaments in a certain way. Pep Guardiola was complaining about it, where he's saying, oh, well, City's calendar ensures that they play, I think it's the Club World Cup or some sort of tournament, and then there's like a real minuscule gap between there and the start of the season, and it's difficult. Recovery is a real thing. I've learned that after struggling with burnout. It's hard. Like, you are knackered. Absolutely knackered. And the smallest bit of minutia will trigger you off and will annoy you. And so I can understand where they're coming from. And it's difficult. Nothing will ever change until something bad happens. But I know players out there running with bad injuries. I know a player out there that's on one hamstring right now. Yeah. Rolling around with one hamstring and he's still given 10 out of 10 every week. I know players out there who are chilling, who will tactically get injured. But the majority and the large percentage of them just want to play football and they just want to do their best and try their best. And if they are complaining about not being able to knock out 60 games a season or 65 or 70 or however many games it is a season, it's purely because they know their own bodies. And we forget sometimes they are proper athletes, these people.
Yeah, I had this conversation with my dad and he was talking about the difference between, let's say, three kind of stages of football that I'm used to. One that my dad used to talk about in the 70s and 80s, then in the late 80s and 90s to now, which I've kind of experienced. And then obviously you're looking at what the future and how it is now in the present day. He was saying there was proper footballers back then, and now they're athletes being footballers. Where then you had that in that mini gap of where we saw some of I believe the golden years, in my opinion. I don't necessarily like the football that's out there now because I don't think the quality.
Is it too much football?
One, I think naturally when you get up, I feel I'm getting more emotionally invested in. I'm a United fan, so I'll get that out of the way. I think I'm getting more emotionally involved in it because my son's quite heavily like fanatical, and it really takes a toll on you because you know where you've been and what your experiences, and you just want your kid to share the same kind of experience as what you did, which is fairly unique, especially in United. But I think, that golden era for me, when I look back, was that you had powerhouse teams, quality teams in there around. And you do have now, but it's a completely different game when you watch the old school to now.
But that's because it's saturated. Because everywhere you look, be it on handheld media, on radio, on TV, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you're looking, there's football content. Podcast, saturated. There is football everywhere you look. Every single day of the week, you could find a channel with a football game on. Guaranteed. Yeah. No problem. And some people say that maybe there is too much football. We are watching too much football. There's been points where I've sat down and I've gone, oh, God, no, I don't want to be watching that, but I have to.
Yeah.
Not because...
So is there a risk of where someone like yourself goes from a passion of football to falling out of love with it, and you don't want to be in that place?
It happened.
Okay.
It happened 3 years ago, and I'd done, in a season, I'd done something like 120, 130 games.
So is that, when you say, just for people who are getting familiar with it, is that commentating?
A mixture of reporting, commentating, and presenting. So a mixture of those three, but I'd been to 120 or 130 games. And my season, that season, had started in July, and it had finished in June. So I had an 11-month season, and you are all over the place. And I remember I did the National League playoff final at West Ham at the London Stadium. And for anyone who's been at West Ham, the London Stadium, the walk back from that ground to Westfield is just horrific. And I was knackered. And I got in the car and I went home, and I was actually at my nanny's and all my family were there. And my mum goes, "What's up?" I was like, "I think I'm done with football." And she goes, "What do you mean?" I was like, I'm tired. Like, I'm really tired of football. Give it about 2 days later, I was fine. Like, I was right, I'm back. But people don't understand sometimes, you know. And a lot of people see the lifestyle where you are at games and they're texting you, oh, wow, you get to meet this person, blah, blah. Can you get us tickets, X, Y, Z? People don't know the graft, though. Like the graft. The places I've been to go and watch football, to go and commentate on the worst 90 minutes, a dead 0-0, you'll go, people don't know. It's
okay, I just want to expand on that, and then I want to go back, to the starting point. But when you're talking about a game and you're preparing a game, and I also, bearing in mind what you said of how many games that you've commentated on, how much prep time is going to be needed there? Because I could barely name a bunch of players, from other teams. You obviously know your team inside out, but you don't. FIFA was always a game. Championship Manager when I used to play, you know every player. Now you don't get that luxury in there. But then to know you're coming up to a game, you need to know every player in the squad, potentially know what's their injuries or what's been happening during the week within each of the club, any politics around tensions, because you're developing a story for the listener to bring in. It's not just commentating on a game of he's passing it.
You have to go in with the narrative.
So how long does it take you now, like kind of prepping from when you started to it is now?
So how it works is, and I'll tell you, people always ask me, how do you get your games and how does it work? On a Monday, we're told what game we're going to. So you are going to X on Tuesday or X on Wednesday, and you're going to Y on Saturday. And you think, right, okay, cool, let's start. And you simply start by reading. You open up your laptop, sit down, make a cup of jar, and you start reading, looking around. How do they play? Okay, cool, let's get their highlights up. Let's go on YouTube. Let's watch what's going on there. I watch a lot of fan channels. I listen to a lot of respected pods. Like, in terms of fan pods, always listen to respected pods. I'll look at what's going on there. I'll read forums as well. I think especially what I do with the Football League, the EFL, it's so different to the Premier League. With the Premier League, I could have a take. I could say, for argument's sake, Brentford are better without Ivan Toney than with. Fine, cool. That take will get lost in the ether. With the EFL, because you are dealing with fans who, and I say this with the greatest respect, are proper match-going fans, die hard, week in, week out, what I call snow, shit or shine, they're there. You make one mistake, they will find out and they will have you. I did it a few years ago. I was doing an EFL roundup on 5 Live one night and they asked me about Bristol City. And do you know what? I wasn't at the game. I hadn't watched Bristol City that season. And I just looked at a few sort of storylines and I made an assumption. You should have seen my Twitter. You should have seen my social media. People blowing up, who's this clown? What does he know? He doesn't know what he's on about, blah, 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 blah. And you sit there and you're like, wow, am I doing this for the right reasons? And it makes you think a bit. It makes you sit up and think. I also understand that I can't get everything right within 72 clubs. And I always say to people, when people criticise me on social media, they'll go, oh, well, what do you know? Or who are you? Fine, whatever. I'll say, look, pal, I cover 72 teams. It's hard to keep up with everyone. I can't sit there and watch everyone every single day of the week. But going back to prep, it's about reading, taking it in, listening to pods. That's such a big thing. Good quality fan pods.
If you had to put hours into it, how would you put that?
Per game?
Yeah.
4 hours. 4 hours. But I'm not one of them people who sit there and sit and read straight away.
Yeah.
I will read a little bit here, 20 minutes there, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 20, 15 minutes there, 10 minutes there. I'll see something pop up. Oh, I'll click on that link. Yeah, let's go on that. Then I know for a fact that I'll be able to sit down for an hour or two and I'll be able to pan it all out on my bit of paper. And I've got my big book and I'll write it all out. And
I've seen Clive Tildesley's,
Clive Tildesley's are like military grade. My writing's messy. Yeah, it's messy. But I'll have a mixture of notes on my Mac written out, and then I have a mixture of notes handwritten. Obviously with my job at Sky now, it's different. You don't have the luxury of a press box where you've got a guaranteed desk and a seat. Yeah. You are in roofs. If you're at West Bromwich Albion, you don't even have a table. I literally stood on a platform in Millennium Corner.
There's baggies for you, isn't it? That's my closest home team. Do
you know what? Like, there's some good people at that football club. Yeah. But you're in the corner. You don't have a table. You're there with your book. It's me and my notepad. And so yeah, you are prepping for a few hours every game.
I want to save a little bit of space because I know you're Bhangrahead and there's just so much to talk to you about. I just love it. How does the Aaron Paul that I see in front of me now through all these wires start his career and choose not necessarily a common pathway into that kind of journalism?
What's a common pathway?
That's a good fucking question. He's actually stumped.
I'll sit back and drink my liquid death.
All right, let's put it that way. So, I mean, you'd have the standard kind of stereotype kind of jobs that people would have gone IT lawyers or you kind of red brick unis and so on and so forth. But the journalism to go down to this niche, there's Dharmesh Seth from Sky Sports. I think there's one or two other presenters, but for you to kind of ground and pound and go your way that you're in now and, fighting to be the top, I don't think there's any competition, but I'm saying that, being one of the leading lights in there, that's not a common pathway for me from what I'm seeing from my experience of looking at football, considering there's a lack of footballers from South Asian communities. I think I'll pull that back, yeah.
I mean, the story is mad, like, in terms of how it will happen. So I actually I went to university and did engineering, building surveying services engineering at Reading University. Yeah. I was pushed into it. My father was he was a builder, he's a property developer, and it was kind of like, you are doing this. You have no choice. You are doing this. That's it. He actually died at the end of my first year of uni. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm in the wilderness a bit. You carry on, you do your thing. And then I got to my third year uni, and you're in a real weird headspace where I'm like, I'm going to finish this year. Well, I actually did a year in industry as well. You're going to finish this year and you're going to be like, right, cool. I'm going out into the world and I'm going to do a job that I hate. And I was actually living with my mama at the time, who is just the most incredible human. He was the most incredible human. Sadly, we lost him during COVID. He was just a legend. And my mama had an idea, and he used to run, he used to do courier. He's like a courier. So he'd wake up 5 a.m, and I was living in a room downstairs in his house. It was me, and I used to kip with the Rottweiler. So one day he's coming to the room, and he's like, "Wake up, wake up!" I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Wake up! I've got an idea." All right, cool, fine. And there was a TV on the wall, and it had an old school Skybox, and he's like, turn this Skybox on. He's put it on 5 Live, Radio 5 Live. And he's taken the remote, he's put it in his pocket, then he's gone to the top of the Skybox and he snapped the buttons out with a screwdriver. And I'm like, I'm half like a das. I'm just like, what is going on here? And even the dog's looking up going, Eteki or you know what I mean? Like, we're just like, what's going on? And he's like, listen to this. I've got an idea. I'm gonna ask you about it later. And I'm like, what? He goes, I've got an idea. I'm not telling you though. I need you to try and work out for yourself. Cool, fine. So I sat there, listened to 5 Live. Come 6 hours later, the TV's like, are you still there? And it's just switched off. I'm like, Jalal, I haven't got a remote.
Yeah, he's popped
He's popped the buttons out, and like the TV, I remember, it wasn't like a kettle lead. He'd hardwired the TV into the. Don't ask why. I don't know. This is Bandai, but he's come home and he's like, do you know why I did that? And I was like, no. And he's like, cool. Next day, 5 a.m, he's done the same thing. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he did it for 4 days. And then on the final day, he turned around to me. He goes, do you know why I've done it? I go, do you want me to be a TV engineer? And he goes, no.
Work at Curry's.
Like, literally, do you want me to, like, repair TVs? Because, I'll get me a screwdriver. I'll give it a go. And he turned around to me. He goes, like, I seriously think you could be a very, very good sports journalist and radio presenter. And I'm like, huh? Like, I had no... Like, I love football and I'd love to work in football, but obviously I'm not... I'm not going to go out and be, Pep Guardiola. Obviously, I could do my badges and hope for the best, but why me? But he said, you just have this weird knowledge. You have this knack. You know everything about football. And I was like, well, I don't know everything. I'm not that bundle who'll sit there and go, yeah, no one likes a...
Stato.
No one likes a stato. No one likes a show off. I'm not Billy Big Bollocks or Charlie Large Potatoes. That's not me. So I'm like, okay. And he goes, look into it. Like, what are you going to do doing surveying at the end of this degree? Because you hate it. Like, you're miserable. Go out and do it. And he goes, think about it. So I sat there, I thought, did some research, and I thought, okay, there's always got to be a start point somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So at that point, we were running club nights. Me and a few friends, we were running club nights, and I'd basically moved away from it, but I'd retained like one club night, which was a tiny little one, in a place called High Wycombe in England. I say it like we're in fucking Venezuela. In High Wycombe, down south in Bucks. And we had a DJ there, Seb, top guy. And I remember Seb was involved in like low-level radio. I'm talking like community hospital stuff. And I went up to him and I was like, can I have a chat? Yeah, and he goes, I'm interested in radio. Like, I reckon I could do it. I'm an avid radio listener anyway. Like, I was a big Talk Sport listener, big 5 Live listener. I was across the media. I sort of consumed the media. It was just my thing. Like, what if I want to get involved? And he goes, well, the guy who runs it is a guy called Clive, but I haven't seen him in a long time. He used to come in here, and why not just take your details and we'll go from there. I was like, oh, fine. I swear, half an hour later, this matey walks through the door. And Seb goes, oh, look, Clive's turned up. I'm like, what? You know when they say when it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
It's fake.
You know, Joe Lickias or
Yeah.
Like, whatever's written for you will come. And he turned up. And Seb literally turned around and was like, Clive, meet this guy, blah, blah, blah. And Clive goes, look, what do you want to do? I said, sport. I didn't expect them to say, come down or do this or do that. I expected him to go, yeah, well, we'll have a think. And he goes, what's your email address? Take it. He goes, right, I'll pass it on to the sport guy. I'm like, what? The next day, I've gone in my email sort of inbox, and there's a man called Keith Higgins, who will probably listen to this. Hello, Keith. You're an absolute legend. He emailed me this long email. It was like an essay. And I'm sat down, I'm reading it, and it's so intense. And this is hospital radio, remember. We're not on... we're not on even on air.
Yeah.
We're broadcasting to 2 people. One of them's blind.
Yeah. Oh, the other one's deaf.
Literally, yeah. And he sent me this email. He's like, right, we do a show. We do commentaries of Wycombe Wanderers. We were in League 2 then. Would you like to come down and, come and check out what we do? I was like, yeah, fine. So I've gone down on the Saturday, and he's at Adams Park, which is Wycombe's home ground. But I've gone to the studio, and it's the most decrepit hospital, Wycombe Hospital. It's sinking, yeah. Literally it's sinking. It's on piles, it's sinking. It's really bad. So I've gone in there. A guy called Luke Davis is there. Luke now works for Wycombe Wanderers. And Luke sat there, and I've put my headphones on, and Keith said hello to me, and they've done this show, and I've said nothing. At 5 o'clock when the game finished and the news comes on, Keith goes to Luke, if Aaron wants to say something in the final hour, let him. Cool, fine. I did the whole last hour on my own. I did a monologue for an hour. And at 6 o'clock when the show went off, like people were actually listening to it. Anyway, Keith turned around to Luke and was like, don't let him go. Make sure he stays. So Luke sat there like talking to me about rogue stuff, like trying to keep me there. So what do you do what do you do during the day? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, mate, don't worry, I'll stay. I stayed there. He came back from Adams Park and he goes like, do you want to be a part of our team? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Joined their team, did my first ever commentary. I'm never going to be that kid who said, oh yeah, I sat in front of, the TV and commentated on game. No, that wasn't me. That's just a load of rubbish. I watched the TV and I watched what was going on across BBC Final Score and Grandstand and Football Focus, and I consumed all this media. But I would never ever say, yeah, I pretended I was a commentator. No. Commentated on my first ever game, Good Friday 2014, Wycombe Wanderers 1, Northampton Town 1. Horrific game of football. Horrific. One of the worst games of football I've ever seen in my life. But I maintained that upbringing in League 2 made it easier for when I watched better quality football, because I was watching head tennis. You had to be so focused on who's heading it back, forth. Wycombe stayed up that season. The next season, they got to the playoff final and I commentated at Wembley. Inside, 12 months of the journey, I was commentating at Wembley, and I'm like, wow, this is
obviously that's like super fast track from that side.
I was still broadcasting to no one. I was broadcasting on hospital radio, but I was learning. This guy Keith, and I learnt so much about him. And my mum turned around to me, and he learnt who this guy was, and was like, you need to listen to him. And Keith was very strict. You do a commentary, come Monday morning, you'd have full notes on it. he would have deciphered everything you've said and gone, why did you say that? This, picking at it. And I used to be like, man, let this guy, let me do my thing. No, Keith is actually a teacher. Well, he was a teacher. He was an educator. He's going to be 80 next year. Oh, no, he's going to be 70 next year. Sorry. 70 next year, not 80. Sorry, Keith. But I later learned he brought through Joe Shannon, who is now a commentator at TalkSport. He brought through a guy called Phil Catchpole, who's a commentator at BBC Three Counties. Brought through Sam Avery, BBC Three Counties, and he's now brought me through. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's got a solid track record.
He's got a great track record. He's got a fantastic temperament, a fantastic way of showing you how to do things. And he was very well respected. So, come out of that game, that first commentary game, and Keith actually turned around to me and was like, what's the plan? Because I was going to finish at Reading. And Keith goes, what are you going to do? I was like, well, I don't know. I want to be a commentator. And he goes, you need to get an education. I go, well, I'm getting one. He goes, no, you need to go out and become a journalist. And I was like, what, do you mean go to uni? He goes, yeah. I was like, just done 3 years of uni. Do I really want to do more uni? And he was like, try and get on an MA, like a master's. I'm like, yeah, cool, fine. Asked him which one to go on. He said City. Applied to City. They said no. And you know, at that age, I'm 23, 24, you are so ferociously hungry. You're relentless. You want this. The guy who rejected me sent me an email, and at the bottom of the email was his number. And I phoned him there and then. And I was like, hello. And he's like, who's this? I was like, my name's Aaron. You rejected me. He's like, did I? I'm like, yep. There's your name on the bottom of the email. And he was a bit surprised. And I just turned around to him and go, look, you rejected me. What's the situation? Why? If I don't know why, I can't progress effectively. And he literally said to me, he goes, look, we prioritise people who've done journalism already. Journalism at City especially, and people have done like humanities, law, English, X, Y, Z. I was like, fine. I go, what would you do? And he goes, I can't give you that advice. And I go, fine. If I was your child, what would you tell me to do? And he goes, go and get a BA. If you really want to do it, do a BA in journalism. And I was like, again, do I really want to do it? And I just go, just for argument's sake, where would you go? And he goes, I'll go to University of the Arts London. And I was like, okay, fine. Put down the phone. Researched it. University of the Arts London. Can I go there? No. Right. Results day came at Reading. I will freely admit, at that point, I'd got myself into a community radio station in Slough called Asian Star. I was presenting for them. I barely did any work for finals, barely did any work for my dissertation, barely did any work for my final major project. I scraped 2-1. Just. On results day, I didn't turn up. I was just so focused on wanting to be a journo. So focused. And I went to my tutor at Reading. Her name was Dr. Balal. And she was funny. I just came around to her, I was like, help me effectively. Help me get into this university. And she was a bit, and I was like, look, you help me, you'll never see me again. I know I've caused you trouble over 3 years, yeah. You will never see my face again. So she wrote them a letter, UAL. They said no. They rejected me, and I basically turned around to her and I begged her, and I was like, please, just tell him I'm a good student. Tell him I'm a good boy. Yeah. Tell him I'm a nice munda. And let me do it. She wrote them another letter, and they said, right, we'll give him an interview. To this interview, you need to bring 1,000 words on any sport topic of choice. Do not be controversial. We just want to see you understand your writing proficiency. Fine. I sent my work in. I did 1,000 words on why Real Madrid are the cancer of football.
What year was that?
2014. Yeah, 2014.
So that's after Ronaldo's gone and the Galacticos era. Everything. Spoiling football.
I don't like Florentino Perez. I turned up to this university, this arts uni, in a bright pink jumper with a bow tie. I thought you got to fit in, it's an arts uni. Gone there, and this lady's come and got me from downstairs. Her name's Anne Coddington, taken me upstairs. And first thing she said to me was, nice jumper. I was like, nah, it's 1-0, I'm here. Gone in the room, and a guy called Mark Barden, who was the head of the faculty, sat and interviewed me. They sat there, they're going through all these questions, blah, blah, blah. He turned around and he goes, oh, your article, you were very brave writing that. And I go, well, I had to stand out. You know, at this point, you are a degree down, you're 23, 24. I know what I want to do, and I'm sat there going, I will hustle. I will throw as many punches as I can to try and get on this ladder. You know, imagine you are in the sea and you're sinking and there's a ladder and you can't see this ladder. I'm just chucking my arms out hoping to find this ladder. And once I get the ladder, I'm going up it. I know that for a fact. It's just a case of where is the ladder. I needed someone to take a chance on me. Keith had taken a chance on me. This was hospital radio. I'm not going to progress in the way I want to. And I'm not going to...
But when did it kick in terms of like, you, from the remote being smashed and done that way, there's got to be a point of where you fell in love.
About 2 days. 2 days. Because my mama, anything he ever said to me in life, advice-wise, came true. Anything. Doesn't matter what he said, it came true. And within 2 days, I'd sat and I researched. Bear in mind, I was very low. I was literally living on my mama's sofa in a spare room because it was close to uni and I was just turning up and doing the bare minimum and I wasn't happy. But I knew I wanted to work in football. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I'd never thought a career in media or journalism was what I wanted. But within 2 days, I knew I'm ready. I'm ready for this. I'm ready to go. Let's go. So Mark interviews me. Just going back to that, Mark interviews me. And his last question is, why should I bring you in here at UAL? I turned around to him and I said, without you, I'll be great. But with you, I'll make history. And he turned around. And when I sit there and I think of that, you know, my fucking insides just shrivel up and I'm like, what are you saying, mate? He walked out the room, he goes, give it a minute. He comes back and he goes, we'll take a hit on you. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, we're oversubscribed. We are hoping we're gonna take a hit on you. We're gonna take a chance on you, bring you in, and hope that someone drops out come first few weeks. And they always do drop out. And I was like, cool. And he just gets me in the corner and he goes, don't let me down. I was like, fine. And I started UAL. I was presenting on Asian Star. I was doing UAL. I was Wickham Hospital Radio. I was working rogue jobs to make some money as well. Some of the jobs I've done on the way up are hilarious. And that's where it began. That's like literally we are at the start there. That is 2014. That's the start.
That's crazy. And so, you know, when you look back on it now, would you have changed? No, you can't say. Would you have changed anything? Because that was that whole experience that was.
I wish I'd done it earlier.
Yeah.
I wish I'd done it earlier, but at the end of the day, I lived in a family where you listen to the family and you listen to your father, and that's it.
But you know, as you're going through this education of presenting, journalism, reporting, was there another point where you're thinking, okay, I'm on another rung of the ladder, but this ladder is much, much higher than when I was before?
The biggest thing for me, at every job I've had, and I've had many gigs, when I walk in, I always wonder, how am I going to leave here? Am I going to leave here going up the ladder? Am I going to leave here falling off the ladder? Am I going to be kicked out the front door? What is going to happen? But one thing I've got, and I think my mum, my family, my partner will attest to this, is that I've got relentless ambition. My ambition knows no bounds. You know, my agent turned around to me, and we're just talking about holiday. My agent turned around to me and he spoke to me on the second day of my holiday and goes, the biggest thing I worry about you, he goes, you burn yourself out. You don't care. And I'm like, mate, I know. If I have a free day, I'm turning around to him going, why do I have a free day in my diary? Why is my diary free that day? Do I want to be sat at home chilling? No. Get me out there. Let me do something. Let me go and talk to someone. Let's go out there and create something. And that's my problem. So for me...
But how do you balance that out with the relationship? You know, sometimes I'm talking to my wife and I'm going out in the evening.
You find someone that works as hard as you. You know, I'm very lucky. I've got someone, and I'm with someone who is the most fantastic support network. She's just everything. My mum has been brilliant. My mum was great. My family have been great. But my partner, I was one of them people who I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to meet anyone. I was happy to be a solo flyer. For me, it was about football, being on my Mac, football, taking it in. That's it. Saturday night, EFL highlight show at 9, match of the day at 10:30, and then re-watching a 90-minute game afterwards because I need to take it all in. I need to be prepped. Or if I've got a game on a Sunday, early night, in, bang, done. But you know, when you meet someone who ticks all those boxes, you will make it work. And we both, when we met each other, we both turned around to each other and were like, you know, we work high-powered jobs, and she's, for someone who at her age of 27 years old, I have so much respect for my partner and what she does. I sit there every day, I'm like, wow. Like, I watch her, the way she works, so diligent, so intelligent. Mate, I sit there and go, I am stupid compared to this woman because I talk for a living. I talk football for a living, and I'm lucky I get paid for it. And I know how to navigate my industry. This woman works in HR. Mate, people throw shit at her all day long, and she bats it, and she's hitting 6 after 6 after 6 after 6. You name it, adversity, she's there. She's reading, she's smart, listen to podcasts, here, there. It's about constant improvement. If you can find someone who will respect your ambition and fuel your ambition, you are flying, brother. And I'm lucky I've got someone who does both of them, and she pushed me. You know, we're going to talk about Sky in a bit, and, like, you know, making the move from Beeb and changing things up.
Let's talk about it now. Yeah, go on.
For 2 years, I'm not going to say ticked over, but I really wanted to hone my craft at the BBC and do bits and pieces, and I have, and I feel I have. But since meeting this person, she has pushed me and gone, well, why don't you want to take that opportunity? Why don't you take that step? It's not a case of do it. It's, well, why haven't you thought about it?
But were you creating waves with or ripples within the scene? Because you could, there's been a new generation of presenters who have come into the whole football sphere, especially your sports sphere. As you're getting podcasts that are coming on, you're getting people who are really popular then on mainstream TV. That on theirs, you know, look at the success of AFTV and.
Do you mean content creators?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's put it that way. So you've got those guys. There's a new market there.
I'm not a content creator. I hate social media. I hate it. I can't do it. It's not for me. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy the invasiveness of it, and I've never been one for it. If I was starting again 10 years ago, would I do social media? Absolutely. Absolutely, I would have done it, because I feel that I would have done more in that sort of space of time. If we were to look at my career as 2 train lines, I'm on the slow line and I'm doing things organically, and I always say I've done things organically. If I'd done content creation and social media, I would have been on another track. But that's not me saying that I haven't enjoyed it and I don't love my journey and I don't love what I do. Mate, I love it. I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed. And again, the struggles I've had, the jobs I've done, mate, I was commentating for BBC London on Saturdays and Tuesdays. I was packing wine in Majestic Wine Warehouse during my Christmas holidays at university. I was working for BBC Radio London reading sports bulletins, and then I'd leave that job at 9 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, I'd be at a factory in Watford that used to do cleaning products. It was me and 7 Polish guys working from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the freezing cold. I'd be there. I've worked at Royal Mail. I've worked at Amazon. I've done it all. You've got to do it to maintain the dream. You've got a lot of people out there going, oh, well, how can I balance this? How can I balance that? You do it. That's it. I've worked in pubs. Mate, I've poured pints. You name it. I've poured pints watching football games going, I'll be there one day. I'll be there. I will be there. I'll be presenting that game, or I'll be doing X, Y, Z. And it's not me being arrogant. It's me just going, I will graft and do whatever is necessary. I will swing punches to make sure I get there.
During this conversation, it's actually got me thinking about some of the previous guests that I've had on, and I'd say for a strong majority, not all, you could see their calling in life, but I've never felt it as strong as how you're talking to me now, in terms of, like, you know, that unique set of circumstances, the skills, and to get to this. You know, you could just see it's pure passion within your eyes, and how you're talking about it. And then I said, like, how naturally when you feel like that, it will transmit to any piece of work that you do. When you're commentating, how do you cater then for the different types of audiences that you're relaying the story, the narrative on there, and still keeping that passion, that enthusiasm down, especially when you're looking at that kind of 1-1. So there's 3 or 4 different kind of layers I've put in the question, and however you want to answer it.
How do I cater for different audiences? Do you know what? Honestly, My biggest thing I say, and I look at my colleagues and people around me, and I look at what they do well. I'm like, yeah, he does that really well, and he's great, and X, Y, Z, and I love to see good people doing well, and I've got a lot of respect for my colleagues. I just think I'm unashamedly me. I am, and I said it when I won the AMA in 2019, and I won it last year. I'm just a brown boy that loves football, and I get overexcited, and I scream, and I shout, and I have an accent, and I don't speak the Queen's English, and I'm not the most eloquent, but I can adapt to the story rather than the listener. And yeah, I think that's my biggest thing. I need to be able to adapt to the story rather than listening. Mate, I tell you a mad one. A couple of years ago, I was presenting 5 Live Sport. Again, probably one of the biggest honours of my life, presenting 5 Live Sport. I still sit there and I look around the studio, a couple of minutes to go, and I go, what am I doing in here? This is mad. What a place. What a place. What a programme. What an unbelievable brand this is.
I remember United winning championships and me listening.
5 Live Sport, Alan Green.
Going,
Alan Green.
And knowing that coming back in the car, especially from West Brom going past and listening to the commentating as we're going on, because we had to get, so West Brom Town Centre, we used to live lived in Handsworth, so we had to pass the Albion ground.
The Hawthorns,
So we had to leave by a certain time, knowing that you didn't want to get into football traffic. So you'd always catch the last sort of 10 minutes before people started walking out. And if United on or anything like that. And a lot of late winners, back over the years.
Unbelievable. Five Live has just provided some of the most incredible sporting moments 100%. Out there. And it's genuinely, I always say this, it's the biggest honour and privilege to work for them and represent them. But I think back to December 22, I think it was. I'm about to go on air. We're about to go through a massive night of EFL football. I've got 2 guests in the studio with me. Producers come on at 6:54. Everything all right? Yeah, cool. Happy days, lovely. Amy, brilliant producer. At 6:56, she's gone, Aaron, don't lose your shit. We're hearing Pele's died. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm fucked. I'm in trouble. How am I going to do this? This is a job for Mark Chapman or Kelly Cates. It's not a job for me. I'm Aaron Paul, mate. I'll talk about the EFL. And then at 6:58, she's like, don't say anything to your guests. Please, don't freak anyone out. We're hearing Pele's died. And in the background, I can hear the editor, Matt, just going, yep, PA reporting it. He's dead. And I'm like, oh, shit. Within 2 minutes, we turned the whole programme around. And I'd gone from being, welcome to 5 Live Sport, EFL special tonight, 10 games, we're across all of them, to this is 5 Live Sport from the BBC. Pele has died. A legend of the Brazilian game, blah, blah, blah. A legend of the world game, X, Y, Z. You have to cater to the audience. And you have to make them feel like you got an arm around the shoulder. You're there for them. Do you know who does it the best? Kelly Cates. Kelly, for me, is different class. Kelly just has such warmth, and people always say that in radio, in broadcasting, you need warmth. And I look at Kelly, the way she talks to people, the way she works with guests, I'm like, wow. But Mark Chapman's the same. Mark Chapman has warmth, he has fun. Mark Chapman's not afraid to make mistakes. He's not afraid to take the piss out of himself, and I respect that. I respect Mark Pugach. Mark Pugach is a machine. Absolute machine. And I remember working, and some editors that Beeb told me one time, they're like, the game that made people sit up and realise, like, we've got someone good here, was Birmingham Villa when Jack Grealish got punched. And I was doing that game. And Mark Pugach, again, military style machine, doesn't get it wrong. He turned around to me one day afterwards, years later, and goes, you were just unbelievable that day. He goes, like, you were a kid, you were new to 5 Live. I'd been at 5 Live 6, 7, 8 months, something like that. You'd been put on a big game. That was big trust from them to put you on Blues Villa, but you delivered. And it's just about the facts. We've got some incredible producers, and they're all great. It's a real family, from the editors to the producers, and they back you and they don't let you down. They guide you through. One of the hardest couple of times in my career is Tom Lockyer. I did the first Tom Lockyer incident at Wembley when he collapsed, and we didn't know what was going on. And you think nothing of it. It's a playoff final. The second one, that's one of the hardest things I've ever done, where Tom Lockyer's collapsed. I've watched him go down, and our editor Simon Foti's just a great guy, just guided me through it so beautifully, and it was one of the most difficult days. And I just think I could have been on my own. I could have had to have done it on my own. I may not have had that guidance from the studio, but in my ear all along were the editors, were the producers helping me along.
So are they in an incident like that, or when you see it, like, we don't see it from the back end of it? Are you getting
guidance?
Oh yeah, are you getting not just only the guidance on it? Are you kind of socially aware of what the conversations are being on social media?
You are looking.
You're getting all these points fed to you.
I'll tell you what happened that day. So Tom collapses we're at Bournemouth at the Vitality, and I'm just watching him, and I just see him go down, and straight away we have this little buzzer system where you press a combination of buttons and it rings in the producer's ear, and the producer knows that you need attention now, you need to speak to him. And that's how we report goals. That's how we are the fastest goal service around, because we have this button and it goes in the producer's ear, and they're like, right, go there, and they can see a light flashing. And the producer come up to me and go, what's going on? I go, Tom Lockyer's down, Tom Lockyer's collapsed, XYZ. Straight away, the editors come on, Foti, and he's like calm. He's so calm. He's like, right, Aaron, tell me what you see. And the most important thing you can do here, and this is why I say to people who call themselves presenters, who want to be commentators, XYZ, go and get an education. Go and get a journalistic education. Because in a moment like this, you sink or you swim. You can shit yourself. And I'm lucky that my journalistic education at UAL and growing up and doing BBC London and doing all those games and everything, it taught me what I should do here. Keep it simple and basically say what you see. Don't assume anything. Say what you see. I was looking on social media. They are basically, we've got assistant producers who are there. What's going on? They've got eyes everywhere. They're watching everything. The studio setup's incredible. And they're watching and they're guiding you through as well. It's very different to the Grealish incident. The Grealish incident, we had no monitors. St Andrews doesn't have monitors in front of us. I was going off what I saw. A man has come on to the pitch from the Tilton Road end, and he has run up and he has right hooked Jack Grealish from behind. Jack Grealish is down. That's it. And then you had the follow-up incident. After Grealish scored, he was punched by a steward afterwards. That day I had to be guided by producers in my ear because there were no replays. At this point, I saw Rob Edwards, the Luton manager, going onto the pitch. I saw Rob Edwards in tears. I saw Luton players in tears. We saw the game being halted. I could give a blow-by-blow update of what was going on. But then I saw someone else on social media posting information from the tunnel and information from what was going on in and around the ground, which I thought was strange. How do they know when they're still sat a few seats away from me? So I've passed the laptop to a Bournemouth colleague, someone who works at the club, who's just said it's a load of rubbish. They're just assuming, they're thinking it's right. Again, you don't assume, you don't do that. You don't know who you're going to upset. You don't know who's going to get pissed off. You don't know whose day you could be ruining or what you could be saying about someone's dad or mum or brother or whatever. You say what you see. And I'm so lucky that in big moments, and I've had so many big moments that I've looked after at Five Live, and I've had the most brilliant support.
It is mad when you're talking about, sometimes when you've got incidents or you're interviewing someone, how the body and the brain sort of reacts into that situation, fight or flight mode, or you freeze as well.
I worked on Grenfell. That was horrific for someone who was young, who was 3 years into your career. Like, I worked on Grenfell. I saw the after effects of Grenfell. I still work for BBC London. I see the after effects of Grenfell all the time because we still talk about it and we still speak to campaigners and we speak to people who are still fighting for justice effectively. I know what the aftermath of Grenfell was. I've seen the Tom Lockyer situation. It's hard, but do you know what? It's part and parcel of it. You're not going to have these days where you're going to be commentating on Fulham scoring 7 against Luton and lifting the Championship title, and Alexander Mitrovic scoring 44 goals. You're not going to have that every day. It's not going to be a celebration every day. You have to deal with tough stories, and it's what we do.
A little bit lighter one, and looking back historically, if I said to you, if there was one game that you would love to have commentated, what would it have been?
Games to commentate on. Oh.
No, not just commentated on, just from history. It could be any of your sports that you covered.
That's very difficult.
Thank you.
That's very, very, very difficult. I couldn't pick one. I think Man United 99 was a special year. Very special year. The last 4 or 5 games were incredible.
Chaz is happy.
Obviously, people will talk about England 66, which I think was just incredible. Winning the World Cup and the fact that it's never happened since. I think Euro 96, I'd love to go back to Euro 96. It was when I went to my first ever game at Wembley. I went to the Holland game and the Scotland game because we lived in Wembley. We grew up in Wembley. Yeah, I don't know. That's really odd. I've seen some incredible games. I'd rather you say to me, what are the most incredible games you've watched?
Okay, let's go down that road.
I did the Battle of the Bridge, Chelsea-Tottenham, where Spurs finished third in a 2-horse race. And Eden Hazard scored that incredible goal. Incredible
What a player.
goal.
He's underrated.
Yeah, he was fantastic. But some of the best games I've done have been in the Football League. I did Wolves 4, Fulham 4. In the swirling rain at Molineux. It was horrific, but it was one of the best games I've ever seen in my life. 8 goals. I did a game during the COVID season, and people are going to say, why would you pick this out? I watched Newport take on Forest Green in the playoffs, and this is a great story. So the Newport goalkeeper Tom King is a really good mate of mine. Like, he's a lovely guy. Plays for Wolves, King. So they were 2-0 up from the first leg. King's like, AP, I'll be able to shout to you. The ground's empty, obviously COVID. I'll shout to you. I'll wave to you. All right, King, nice one. And he's like, 2-0 up. We'll wrap it up. It'll be fine. Inside about 10 minutes, it's 2-2. And he's looked over and just gone, mate, and just held his arms out. It was so funny. That game finished something like 4-3 or 4-4. It was one of the best games. Again, played in horrific weather. And I remember it being sort of like summer-ish.
And you guys were sport was one of the biggest outlets if you went during COVID, just sitting there. I mean, that arguably was one of the big factors of how UFC have just jumped up a couple of levels, absolutely, because it was one of the only sporting events.
Available. It's available.
Yeah.
You know, what was available, people clamouring for anything that was available. That was it.
That's why I class like Liverpool winning that one. It don't really count because there was no fans.
The Alisson goal was funny though, wasn't it? I mean, the games during COVID were insane.
It's just they were training ground games.
It was insane.
Literally training ground games.
One of the best games, and I'd love to relive that day, is when my Wimbledon team beat MK this season. Beat them 3-0 at Plough Lane. That was a class afternoon. Beating them last year 1-0. Ronan Curtis 94th minute. Unbelievable.
Just going on to football now and just dedicate some time. What do you think as a football commentator? How has the game evolved for you?
In what window of time?
I don't know. I was talking about it earlier on in the pod about the 3 stages, but like from your perspective, have you seen any distinct changes and stuff?
Yeah. But it evolves every day of the week. Every day of the week.
I've tried to. I'll get it off my chest. I've tried to. Like when you see a game and you try and so it's past it, you're just messing about. I just don't know how the speed of your mind to prepare what you're gonna say. Preparing an emotion of when somebody scores, getting that actual.
Are you talking about commentary?
Yeah, I'm just talking about commentary.
I thought you meant the game on a whole.
No, but you can say it can be as a as
I literally was going to start off by saying players used to eat steak and chips before a game. Now they're, drinking carb paste.
Yeah.
Like, life has changed,
or liquid death.
Yeah, Liquid Death.
Liquid Death.
This podcast is sponsored by Liquid Death. As a commentator, how's it changed? Do you know what? I really appreciate my upbringing. And again, I go back to Keith and Wickham, watching Gareth Ainsworth, and he won't mind me saying this, like, Route 1 football, where you are watching header, scrappy goal. Because 2 years later, when I'm watching Fulham under Slavisa Jokanovic playing liquid football, beautiful, stunning football, it just made the game so much easier. It made it so much easier to commentate on.
Are you conscious that, are you conscious that when you score that, when somebody sees a goal, the commentary next to it, it's like beans on toast. It makes it so, like, we go back to the 99, and I remember seeing the goal, but Clive Tilsey, like, even because I remember I had to get, my grandma was going mad because I was screaming the house down. I run out into the road for the equaliser. And then I come back in and they've started again. And my granddad is at the top of the stairs with his kundi in his hand going, like, we're getting burgled or something's going on. you know what I mean? Because it was late. It was yeah. Well, for him, I can't go into it. It was almost there. And then when Clive Tilsey does the narration for the goal, every time I hear it now, I go back to that feeling, and I still get goosebumps.
Okay. Clive Tilsey was on ITV Sport then. How many people watching the game on ITV Sport? Everyone watched on ITV Sport.
Yeah.
When Sergio Aguero scored the goal for City to win the league in 2011-2012, everyone was watching it on Sky Sports. Right now, if I do a game on 5 Live, you're watching Sky Sports Soccer Saturday. He's watching Final Score. He's watching the game on a legal stream. He's watching somewhere else. How many people are actually going to hear me doing it? That's what.
Very good point.
That's the first thing you've got to look at. Secondly, it's natural. It's natural. It's whatever comes and whatever happens.
But do you sometimes
pre-script it?
Yeah. Is there anything pre-scripted?
Well, look. Yeah, you do a preview. We write a preview, and for me, a preview is about what I talked about earlier about narratives and us setting a story and setting up the narrative and the research we do. I write a preview and I will script it because I want to get as much concentrated juice and information into this 30 seconds that I'm allowed to sell my game as possible. Why would I busk it? I can busk the full-time score because I'm telling you what's happened and I've got my notes and I'll say Smith scored on 17 minutes, Seng scored on 25 minutes, Bob James was sent off on the 60th minute, and I'll go, Wolves 1, Man United 2. Alan Smith opened the scoring on 17 minutes, but then Bob Singh scored a goal, 25 minutes, like blah, 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 blah. I can do that. I can busk it. If you can put a game in front of me, I could do it. But why would I do that on my preview? On my preview, I've got to sell the game to you. I've got to make you want to listen to it. No commentator scripts it. I don't know a commentator that scripts anything in terms of goal moments. I think we're too busy shitting ourselves over player ID. People don't realise player ID is the biggest thing that we worry about as commentators. And it's simply a case of, did we get the right player's name when he scored? And you are like, buddy, please.
So how do you as a professional then cover those mistakes when it does happen?
You have ways of... There are ways of you don't make a mistake. You only call it when you call it. And people are complaining about certain commentators and their style of screaming players' names when they shoot. They do that because they know and they're comfortable and they're 100% buckeyes that player and they know if I get that right, it's a great goal. If I don't get it wrong, it's been saved, it's gone wide, it's done, whatever's happened. There are ways of doing things. You can describe the goal and we are trained to look at who's running away. Who's running away to celebrate? It's always difficult when, like a player's playing against their former club and they choose not to celebrate and they get bundled and you're like, oh, God. Or when you're commentating on like a Reading or a Sheffield Wednesday or a QPR and you can't read the numbers on the back of a shirt because you're, 20 metres in the sky in a press box and it's difficult. There are ways and means. I used to look at players' boots, their hair. Yeah. And like when I was commentating on Fulham, I was commentating on Chelsea. During the Goose Hiddink second spell after Mourinho was sacked the second time. boots, hair, numbers, shorts, X, Y, Z. You'll work it out.
Who's the Mount Rushmore for you of commentators?
Martin Tyler.
Number one.
People can criticise him. And that's the thing. There's a lot of people out there who are armchair fans, who are armchair pundits, who will sit there and criticise and they'll say X, Y, and Z. Martin Tyler was at the top of his game for a long time. You don't stay with Sky that long and bat off the competition for that long if you are rubbish. However, for me, there are so many unbelievable commentators out there. I think Guy Mowbray is ridiculous on the BBC. I love listening to Guy Mowbray. And then I say radio's a different art. People talk about TV and radio and I split them between two. TV commentary for me is a case of learning that you have to shut up, and radio commentary is learning that you can't shut up. You can't have dead air in radio. John Murray, who works with us on 5 Live, unbelievable. Ian Dennis, unbelievable. For me, one of my colleagues, Nick Godwin, is one of the best commentators I've ever worked with in my life. I'll sit there, I'll be his presenter, so I'll be presenting the show, I'll be doing the build-up. We're doing it in a couple of weeks, doing Brentford Fulham in a couple of weeks. London Derby, I'll do 2 hours of build-up and then I'll hand to him for the commentary and I sit there and I'll just look at him like, wow, Nick, wow. And I get a buzz just listening to him. And for me, that's what it's all about, the buzz listening to him. But Clive Tildesley was unbelievable on TV. Unbelievable on TV. But I had a coffee with Martin Tyler the other week. And again, he's so approachable. You know, don't forget, I'm still learning. You know, I did a networking event yesterday and I'll show you the messages people sent me. And for me, it's about helping the next generation through and bringing through the next generation of...
Are you positive that of the next generation, especially from South Asian backgrounds, coming into...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As long as they get the backing, I will always help them. As long as I get the backing, you can do it. Like, if I can do it, anyone can do
Sonny Gillies, referee, look what you...
Sonny and Bubs, and Uncle, John legend.
Legend.
But I look at Dev from Sky Sports, great mate of mine. Look at what he's doing. Darmish, cracking guy. You know, he's backed me a lot. Z from Desi Ballers does incredible work trying to promote people. But I also look at the fact that whilst I'm trying to give off my experience, I'm also learning. So I was lucky enough to have a coffee with Martin the other week, and the things he was telling me about and teaching me, and it's not just him, it's my colleagues on radio, on BBC Radio. I listen to him. Ian Dennis will message me and go, well, you did that really well. Or John Murray, you know, getting a message from someone like John Murray or John Hunt, our racing commentator. When your peers recognise what you do, shit, man, it's better than anything. It's like a drug.
What's your thoughts of this season and any particular teams that are surprising you? Who do you think is going to win the Premier League?
All I care about is AFC Wimbledon winning League 2. That's it. I care about AFC Wimbledon getting promoted. That's it. And I think we've got a great chance. If we can win all our games at home, and I think we're one of 3 teams in the 92 who have a 100% home record. It's us, Blackburn, and one more. Wrexham. Us, Blackburn and Wrexham have got 100% home record. We can win the league. We've got a good enough front line. We've got 4 brilliant forwards. I don't care about the rest.
So you get a day off, do you go straight AFC to go watch them?
Do you know what? If I can go and watch them, I will always go and watch them.
Do they allow you to go and commentate on them?
Yes, Wimbledon.
Yeah.
I do games 5.
How do you balance the bias then? Because
It's very difficult. I get very emotional with them. I get very emotional with that football club because I love them so much.
I'd be swearing constantly.
I love them so much. It's so difficult, but I'll try and be professional. But it's quite funny because one of my colleagues turned around to me and was like, never give away your team. Don't let people know who your team are. In the past, like, 5 weeks, people have realised that I'm a Wimbledon fan. I've just publicly gone, yeah, I'm a Wimbledon fan. It is what it is. But I don't mind. I don't care. It is what it is now. So, yeah.
Your other love that we just got through is with Bhangra. And so what's your favourite... Hang on, what's your favourite go-to albums then? That would kind of help set the scene for...
No, I can't do that.
For Bhangraheads.
I can do tracks.
Okay, go on then.
I don't want to say albums because that's not fair. I I have different moods, different songs, different moods. I have tunes that I will forget about, and then I will be addicted to. It's mad. There's one by Ranjit Mani at the moment called Akalargi, which DJ Sanj redid, and the bully on that are unbelievable.
Sanj, yeah, he's actually coming out with his own podcast. He did it a bit before, a little bit.
Yeah,
he's coming out with it full day.
Class.
Yeah.
I think DJ Sanj was unbelievable.
Yeah, I just wish I know he was really successful in some of his work that he was doing outside of music. And I think he's dipping his toe back in now.
I love it. I love it all. I'm here. I really struggle with some of the new stuff. I'm not gonna lie, like the more hip hoppy style.
You don't like it?
Nah, it's not for me. That's why I love Raf. I'm a big Raf Sapira fan. I think he's just class. I love that folk, that raw folkiness of him. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it. I'm a big Punjabi music head, as you know. Going from 60s, 70s, 80s, I will listen to Bachangi. I will listen to, like Surinder Kaur, Prakash Kaur. I'll listen to them. I will go to K-Deep and Jagmohan and, listen to them. Derini Prawa Menu Kutia. I think that's one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. To the 90s, the 80s, I think Bali Sagu was way ahead of his time. The production on so much stuff, I love it. I just love it. I'm so involved in it, and I consume it all the time. I'm just there. I know you asked me about tracks.
No, it's all
right. Give me a mood. Do you know what?
One that you got to get up to and dance straight away.
Dastar DJ Sanj. I love that song so much. I think that song is just so good. For me, it's the ultimate wedding tune. That anything by B21. I was a big B21 fan. I think in the 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, you were either B21 or RDB. I was always B21. I just loved.
Yeah, I was B21.
B21. I loved them.
Jazz is smiling really bad.
but
you go for paid partnership bit.
Yeah,
I'll just stick that in.
Sponsored.
There. Yeah, the Jack Pals.
Do you know? It's funny because I did West Brom the other week, and I don't know why. When I come to this part of the world, I feel like so proud to be DC. Yeah. And I'm sat there, I'm just blasting music. Mate, I'm rolling down West Brom High Street blasting Miss Pooja.
Yeah.
It was class. But I don't know, with tracks, look, I have music where I sit and I'll be like...
Did you manage to catch any of the big concerts that happened with Audla and Diljit recently?
No. That's the truth of the matter. No. I pick and choose gigs really carefully. But I really savour them when I go to them. So the last big ones I went to Raf Sabir at the Indigo O2, which was class. I always go to Gurdas Man. Like, it's just, I really love him. I love sort of listening to him. Do you remember Surinder Shindar did that gig a few years ago here? His last gig in the UK, I went to that. And look, Bajara, we knew he was done. But it was like incredible to say, like, I was there.
Was it the one with True School band and that?
Yeah. True School, by the way, what a geezer. Love his work. I love the feel-good nature of our music. I can listen to songs that make me feel sad. I can listen to songs that make me feel upbeat. Songs, I was telling you about songs, that I've rediscovered. The Akalargi tune, it is mad. There was one summer, me and my pals, like, I don't know how I found this tune, but it just came into my head. Lal Chure Wali was Shinda Madan Maddi.
Yeah.
What a song. That song, for when it was released, oh my, the beat on it, I listened to that song for one summer straight. It was on repeat. That there was Benda Gidda, Bali Sagu, which I think that was from Star Crazy too. I remember I got myself a Golf GT. That was the first track I played in that car. The first track.
The ceremonial first song.
Mate, the ceremonial first song, you name it.
Really important, that is.
What a track. What a tune. And then, mate, stuff like by old school DCS. Like, I love Daru. I love DCS v TDF. Mate, I can't even explain it. Like, I love this music. I love the old school, though. For me, like, Dips, I'm really lucky that I look up to Dips and Bobby from the Asian Network. Like, I really respect them so much, and I hope they know that. They were my radio idols, and to have their support as well has been incredible on my radio journey.
I'm really, I'm a bit worried about Asian like radio as well, like growing and getting there. It's like it's not one of the kind of conversations that I could speak with like especially my age group, and they'll say, "Yeah, did you catch this show on Asia?" It doesn't. I don't have that conversation as I used to back in the day, and I think I've always got this problem at the moment where the biggest stars that are coming who can help nurture the next generation of content creators or radio presenters, if they're not doing the big interviews,
are we looking for radio presenters or content creators? Are we looking for YouTubers or
I don't know.
presenters?
I think there's a lack in. I think there's a lack in all of them, to be honest. Because if you've got your biggest artist, it's like, let's say, look, using football as the analogy, if you're not gonna have Ronaldo or Mbappe's or Alan Shearer's or all of these guys in the Premier League not gonna do their after game interview, it's a bit shit. You want to hear from the players, even though if it's kind of the standard thing, you still want to see them and have access, because you might get a Paul Pogba interview that's come out today on Sky. Those guys are not having the big in-depth interviews with some of the leading Asian Asian stations, and I get worried about that. Because it really influenced, especially kind of, I'm talking my opinion, I could be completely wrong here and people can challenge that, but I remember listening to a Gurdassman interview on radio specifically for that reason.
You think about the people that the pioneers of radio. I think of like someone like Mick St. Clair, who's been unbelievable.
Yeah, the studios. Sonia Diol, later on Amajit Sidhu, who was on the Cash and Polly on Radio XL.
I grew up in London, so Sunrise Radio. Listen to Sunrise Radio. Listen to Aftar Lit, and what he did was unbelievable. Do our Asian radio stations showing enough ambition? No. I listen to Asian radio stations all the time. I'm not in that field anymore, but I listen to it because I care about it.
But you could see it from a really different angle, and the infrastructure and the standard.
I've offered to help in places, but people have turned around to me and gone, "You think you're big time now. You work for other people, you think you're big time." I had that. I can show you messages from people who turn around to me and gone, "Yeah, why do you give a fuck? You think you're too big time?" And I'm like, "Cool, fine. I don't care. Like, do what you want. Like, it's no skin off my nose."
Yeah.
But I care.
Yeah.
I really care. At the end of the day, this is our industry. Would I like to be involved in Asian media again? Absolutely. There's a radio station that I'd like to work for. Will they have me? No. The boss doesn't like me. That's the truth of the matter. He does not like me. And if he ever wants to have a conversation, I actually approached him again in the summer. He's more than willing. Like, I'd have a cup of tea with him because I feel I can make a difference. It's up to them. I just think no one shows enough ambition these days. They will blame it on money and funding. I think that's a piss poor excuse. Yeah. I look at what I could create with nothing.
And what people are creating with nothing, aren't they? There are examples.
But people, look, there's a lot of people out there who want fame quickly. They want to be famous, man. They're desperate for publicity and popularity. Do it for the love of the game first, man. Do it for the love of the game and go for it and see how it goes. But it's disappointing. I think we're getting to a point where we're going to have a split off. There's going to be a fork in the road where you're going to have the traditional radio station where you have presenters who speak language, and you're going to have the other half who it's not cool to speak language. They don't want to speak language. It's not engaging to speak language because this generation don't understand language as well. And they're going to go down that route. I see radio stations playing music from other genres because they don't want to play old school music. They're not interested. I don't know. It's frustrating. I wish I could make change. But at the end of the day, in the one place I'd like to make change, again, the boss don't want me. He has made it apparent he don't want me. And I wish that would change because I want to make a change. And if he wants to have a conversation, I'm here. I feel I can make some things happen. I could work well. I'm yeah, it's a difficult one for me. It's a very difficult one for me, Asian radio. I'm very fortunate and I'm very lucky for what it gave me. And I did 5 years at Sunrise and I love the place to death. But yeah.
All right, I'm going to bring it to a close, but I'm going to ask you one final question.
Go on.
So this is the bandwagon, and I asked this question to all my guests. Is there a bandwagon that you'd like to jump on? Is there a bandwagon that you'd like to jump off? Or if there's anything that you want to get off your chest, this is the space to do so.
Why do people take their kids on holiday everywhere, man? Why?
It's probably because of the only freedom that they can experience. Because if you look, okay, how old are the kids? Let's talk. Let's
Babies.
talk.
Forget. Okay. Why I'm saying this? We were on a flight.
Yeah.
7-hour flight. There was a judgy on the flight from Scotland. Yeah. Bonk, 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 bonk some more, bonk some more. She sat there. Her Adami sat next to her. He looked like he wanted to jump out. He was about to say, "Bhai, door call madallah." Yeah. Her sister-in-law was there. The baby was there. So what was happening is the mum was sat there, and she was thick as anything. Yeah. She had no. If she had something judged up to say, I'll go, "Jalo, fine." Yeah. She's talking about like quantum mechanics or something. Jalo, fine. Yeah. She's like, "Hey, when I go to Dubai, I'm away to find myself a box of chocolate. You know that fixed chocolate." I'm like, "Bye." You said that 4 hours ago. Her Adami sat there, bolt upright like that. Then the baby's crying, then yapping, blah, blah. I couldn't take it. That was the first thing with kids. And then you get to your hotel and there's Nyarny everywhere there. But why'd you bring them, man? Why? There was only one nice kid there. He was Kazakh, yeah? He was 1 year old. Their kid was like the Michelin man's boy, yeah? He was like a log, he was a tank. But he was job. It was lovely. It was lovely. Don't be selfish, people. Don't be selfish. Don't stick your kid on a 7-hour flight when they're like 1. That's not fair. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I remember we took our son to Cyprus.
That's all right. That's 3 hours.
Yeah, it was 1, but it was the first kind of holiday where we had both kids there, and we realised like, like our night's over at 7 because as soon as they go to sleep, you can't leave them, so you're just staying there. Then what do you do? And it's hard. It's hard. But then when they're a little bit older, you can put them in the sort of the kids club, and then you can just relax a little bit. But then when they're too old for the kids club, then you're kind of stuck again. So like, I'm at that point now where I ain't going on any. I'm only going to like UK holidays.
Fair play. What happened to going and visiting a Thaya in Leicester? Yeah, packing in the back of the car.
Yeah,
we're all off, dull.
Because back in those days,
you don't get the samosa ready.
Yeah, but before you wouldn't even have to ring. You could just go. Now you have to book in time. See what your schedule is, their schedule, if the kids ain't got any parties, any clubs. And then if there's a space, then you say, like, we're coming on that day. And you then have to give at least a month's notice.
We used to go to Cambridge to see my dad's boy. Go see my dad's boy.
Those are good old days. You know what's really depressing, though, while we're at it? Sorry. I know it's supposed to be your space. But you know where you have, like, on Instagram, and you say, like, classic 90s account.
Yeah.
Classic, and you just get... You look at it and you just think, and you just go into this depression mode.
Mine's Retro and Derby.
Yeah.
Retro and Derby.
There's a classic...
what's his name? Rugby Shergill. He depresses me a lot. He just does. He's very... his music's like... It's just melancholic.
Yeah.
Don't like it. I don't like it.
I'm just... Yeah, I think I need to go... But I need to just change my algorithm as well. I just need to keep it more positive.
Do you know what? At one point, my algorithm was just crocodiles.
I'm on King Cobras at the moment.
Oh, no.
That real Tarzan. The real Tarzan. He's just with...
man, I was crocodiles. Mad. Now,
Steve Irwin is obviously...
No. It was just rogue. It's just... Yeah, he's a legend. It's rogue alligators and people in Florida just like, you know...
The python catcher.
Is he the one that cooks them?
No, this guy is... He goes out, he shoots lizards, he catches crocodiles and the big... He's after... His mission is catching... I know who you mean. The 20-foot python.
I think... here. Nah. It's a bit intense.
Python cowboy,
but there's one guy, he's like in the deep South in America.
Is it Paul? Paul?
I don't know what his name is. He cooks some rogue stuff.
No.
He's cooking some rogue sabjiyan. Yeah, let me tell you that. One day he's like, dry roasted a raccoon. I'm like, oh my God.
Man.
He's opened the patila.
That's
He's got
the next level of
tadka lake. Yeah.
That's the next level
You
of
can't
mixed
imagine Chef Rakesh on ZTV going, doo, 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 doo. Like, let's have, Aj main banaya raccoon ka sabzi. You know what I mean? Like, nah, ain't gonna happen. But like, literally, you got him there. Then, you've got a guy in there's a guy in like Dagestan I follow called Georgi Kavkaz, and he just cooks meat. I don't know why I watch it. He just cooks meat. I dream of mixed grills. So.
I need to check it out.
I like a good bear as well. Like bears are fun.
But yeah. I mean, it's classic Joe Rogan content, really, isn't it? Pythons, bears, meat, carnivore diet, UFC.
Just funny desi memes, really. You see the old desi memes that do the rounds once every 4 years. They come back round and
Hajat Bangle. He's the GOAT.
No, Bhangrahead Jaji Bains Munda Bya Kan Chale. You know when he's just like, Jaji Bains What a guy.
Hajat was my very first guest.
Yeah, I had him on the radio a couple of weeks ago. He's great.
Genius.
Top guy.
Comedy genius.
Funny guy.
Yeah.
Funny guy. Lardi di Lardo. Man, what's that fella in back home? Joginder Basi.
Oh yes. He just Katappa
is the best was. The best one was, I've seen this video, it's fun, right? It's like a 10-second video because the farmers in sport car. I just started laughing. He's so funny.
I remember I accidentally found him.
Lockdown.
When he did the prank call on Nirmal, the pizza.
Oh!
When he did that, because he weren't supposed to say the name.
Yeah.
But he forgot to edit one bit.
Oh, brilliant.
That one was...
Nirmal was a king.
That was a king. I didn't understand it first. I watched it. I only caught part of it, and then he flipped on it. I didn't get it until when I watched it all.
Nah,
Nirmal was this guy.
Nirmal was a legend.
OG. He don't give a fuck.
Garam tata pila khane si. Oh, massage kare? Nahi, mama. I started calling people mama because they're Ali chiwa mama kidda. Nirmal was a legend. Then one of the funniest was where he was going around doing the song lyrics with people.
Yeah.
And he's in the shopping centre and he's walked up and he goes, Bapu ji, ek sawal pooch sakta hai? And he's like, usne to sunda nahi. He's like, online chat kar. He goes, आवाज नहीं आती online chat कर. Oh mate,
he killed Bawa as well, didn't he?
Oh mate,
he's finished. He's killed
He's
everyone.
so funny. He's so funny. I mean, he's right. Don't get me wrong. Like someone's gonna go out there and
yeah. I'm worried, but
wasn't he doing like a roti company or something like that, knocking out roti from his garage?
I think it's doing really well. He had a tiffin company, and he sells fireworks.
Yeah, patake.
Yeah, and then he does his podcast. His merch was doing. Kitchke was doing crazy numbers.
Mr. Steal Your Chachi or whatever.
Yeah. Steal Your Mossy or something.
Fair play.
Aaron, I've really enjoyed this.
Love.
And I really appreciate you taking the time out. I know how busy you are.
It's all right.
And it was just complete fate of how today happened.
Yeah, man.
The coincidence, yeah. And I'm wishing you all the success. And honestly, personally, I'd like to thank you for what you're doing, and
thank you, mate.
You are that North Star for a lot of people watching and getting into this kind of industry. And please just keep it going, and just remember you got a big support base around you as well, man.
Thanks, man. Let's go for mixing.
Yeah, let's go. All the best.